Tri-Cities here on your ESPN Tri-City station. We are live at Food City, the Food City on Eastman Road here in Kingsport. The place that makes your food dollars go farther, okay, further. There you go. Well, all right. Before we get to our next guest, I do need to remind you that even if you get vaccinated, okay, you still need to mask up, please, okay? Because whether you realize it or not, you may be contagious, and that person that is next to you may not be vaccinated. So make sure you get vaccinated. Now, let's jump in and visit with our next guest, and it is the very handsome, the debonair, the suave, the sophisticated, the man, the myth, the legend, Jeremy Sears. And Jeremy is the minister at Avoca Christian Church.
Correct.
In Sullivan County. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Now, I've got to ask you something. I know you've got some things you want to talk about, but I've got to ask you something. This pandemic that we've been struggling with, has it not impacted worship services throughout the region, you think?
Absolutely it has. Yeah, in fact, sadly, there's a lot of churches that are simply not able to make it through this season. Some of the smaller churches have had to shut down because without attendance, and a lot of them didn't have any way for Facebook Live or any other way to communicate with their congregants or parishioners. So we find that a lot of churches are really, really struggling during the season. It is an incredible challenge to get up and to preach and to teach to an empty audience on Sunday mornings.
I can't think of a harder place to be.
Oh, listen, Dave,
it's
funny. We're celebrating Resurrection Sunday this week, Easter, when Christ the King rose for the remission of our sin, to prove that he was who he said he was, the Son of God. And I can't think of a more appropriate. I guess you look at it a year ago. Most churches. In fact, I think in this region, all churches were closed for Easter. And
pretty much. I can't think of one that was open.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had, during this season at the outbreak and the onset of the pandemic, I took a volleyball and I put a red handprint on it and made it look like Wilson from Castaway, because and I put him in a pew because nobody was there.
You had to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, so I mean,
I love it.
At Easter, there was nobody. There was nobody in the room, and it was, a very challenging time. It didn't feel very celebratory. But this year, I think, for most of us, for Christians throughout the country and especially in our regions, in a sense, we're getting a chance to celebrate not only the resurrection of Christ, but the resurrection of our church.
And when you think about it, too, that impacts things like, communion, Lord's Supper, whatever, however your tradition is. And I know in our case, we have found that they actually pre-package containers of juice and the
just hang out. And so I don't mind if they stay and play cards all afternoon. Whatever they want to do.
Whatever they want to do.
Yeah, whatever they want to do is fine. It's a service that is for our senior community, by our senior community. So they're making the decisions on what they want it to look like and how,
And Jeremy, as I was listening to you, I can think of. As a senior, we may be in good health physically, but there's a mental health aspect of socializing, visiting, talking,
sure,
shaking hands, even that you don't get when you're quarantined or isolated or whatever.
Dave, we were all created. God created us to crave physical connection, to crave emotional connection. Because he is a God that very much, those attributes, I mean, he loved us so much that his son had to physically die for us.
Right.
And so when we miss those things, I just wrote in fact, yesterday I wrote a church-wide newsletter, and in that I talk about how, this winter has been really hard for a lot, for us.
For all of us.
Yep.
Yeah, for all of us.
But I believe that this winter isn't just the physical aspect of winter, the cold, the chill, but just the emotional winter that so many people have been in their life right now, where they lack that connection with one another And I know people that have not actually touched their or hugged their grandmother in a year, but they wave to her through a window. They see her and they can put their hand up to the glass, and how heartbreaking is that?
Well, I can tell you from my own experience, my 16-year-old granddaughter got to hug me a couple of Saturdays ago for the first time since this whole stuff started.
And what did that do for your heart?
Listen, I was walking on top of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. And it did her some good as well.
Absolutely, especially at that age.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
teenagers are tough.
Yeah, think about our own.
Yep.
But you're right. It does make a huge difference there. Well, now, the service starts at what time?
At 9 a.m. So
9 a.m.
Yeah, we have our 9 o'clock primetime service, which is dedicated towards our seniors. And then we have
that doesn't mean that the young folks can't show up.
Not.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Everybody's welcome.
Everybody's welcome.
And then we have our normal 10 o'clock service, which is what we've been doing since the pandemic started. We used to have 2 services, but when you've got a handful of people showing up for a service, there's no reason to have 2 services anymore. So we kind of canceled it, and it gave us a chance. And a lot of pastors would probably say the same thing. As hard as this season has been, it gives churches a chance to reinvent themselves without people getting angry.
Take a deep breath.
Yes, and you know how if you've been going to a church for 25 years, well, this is how it's supposed to be. This is what we've always done.
We've always done it this way, and we're not going to do it any other way.
And so change becomes challenging because people don't like change generally.
Sure.
But in this regard, the change has been forced on so many different people that it gives the churches an opportunity to reevaluate, reassess, and say, hey, for us to move forward in the most impactful way for our community, what can we do? How can we do this differently so that we bring people together and we bring more people in, because that's the whole purpose of it, is to bring more people into the loving knowledge of a God that loves them so much.
Now, it is a regular worship service with singing and
singing,
scriptures and communion and all of that as well. So you're not shortchanging anybody anything.
Absolutely not. Nope.
I love it.
We're doing the same message, just a little bit of a different format in it.
Sure.
In fact, we're even in the process. I've got to order some more hymnals because we're gonna go back and sing from hymnals, and and the big one again is after service we're going to open up a room for community.
Yeah.
And they don't have to leave.
They're welcome to stay. And,
right. We do ask that right now, obviously with COVID and everything else, we still want them to practice social distancing and wear masks.
Wear your mask and those kinds of things.
And that's up to them. And I kind of have taken a position where the government mandates and everything else are for our safety and our protection, but God also gave everybody a brain, and He expects you to use it.
Well, practice a little common sense. It's kind of like what I have said about, getting your flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sick, stay home.
That's right.
That's just good advice,
Yep.
The hand sanitizing.
Yep.
We should have been doing that all along.
We should have been doing that all along. Yeah.
You keep your hands away from your face, your nose, your eyes, your mouth. You're careful about some of the things you do.
As dads, you can definitely say that we should. I know my kids use bathroom and come right out, and I'm like, go wash your hands.
Go wash your hands, exactly.
So yes, we need to be using hand sanitizer. I think the big one, for us as a church and a church family is as we approach Resurrection Sunday, the hope, and I challenge our church with this letter this week to allow hope to arise within you again, that we are seeing the tail end of something that I believe the enemy has brought on, because...
Well, and I'm going to make this statement. Of course, there'll be people that'll say I'm wrong, but we've never been without hope. We've always had it. It may be covered up sometimes, but we've always had the hope.
That's right.
I think that's an important lesson for all of us to learn. Even in the darkest hours.
That's right.
We've got hope.
Even in the darkest hours, we've got hope.
Now, again, can you give us a specific location for the church, like a street number, and
Sure.
you don't have to be a member of Avoca Christian to join in? And
No, not
Okay.
at all. We're at 2417 Volunteer Parkway. We are-
2417 Volunteer Parkway.
Yep, we
Okay.
are right up the road from the Speedway. In fact, we're one of those few churches in the country that every now and then gets to cancel for
Because
NASCAR.
of the traffic.
So,
Oh, I love it.
Not that we place NASCAR above Jesus, but
but it's an impossible
sometimes it's
situation to
impossible.
get
Yep.
in and get back out again.
Yep.
I
So-
understand. Is there a website?
there is. If you go to avoca.church, you can go to our website and check us out. We've
Avoca, AVOCA
AVOCA.
.church and
Yep.
get more
Yep.
more information. And is your picture on the webpage?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that'll back up the fact that introduced him as the handsome debonair.
My
swallow.
wife's is on there too, which
Oh,
is
is
even,
she? Okay,
even better.
okay.
So
She overshadows you, huh?
by far,
Okay.
yeah. I'm the shadow from her sunshine. So
I love it. I love it. Service is at 9 o'clock Sunday morning.
is our primetime service,
Prime
and then our
time.
normal service is at 10 a.m.
Pick your service. Either
Yeah.
way.
Pick
Okay.
your service.
Reverend Sears, thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Dave.
being with us today. More importantly, what you're doing enhances the quality of life in many ways, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with who knows what we'll uncover here on AM Tri-City, so you stay tuned, okay?